Welcome back to the Military Times Reporters Roundtable, where we bring you the news behind the week's biggest headlines. I'm your host, Military Times Capitol Hill Bureau Chief Leo Shane, and I'm joined in studio today by my dear Pentagon colleagues, Megan Myers, Pentagon Bureau Chief for Military Times, and Joe Gould, Pentagon Bureau Chief for Defense News. Thanks both for coming. Today we're looking at what we expect will be the biggest defense news stories of 2023. We brought a few topics to the table today. Joe, let's start with you, and let's start with the biggest story of 2022, which was Ukraine. The United States sent almost $70 billion in equipment to Ukraine to help in their fight against Russia. Does that keep up next year? What happens with this story and what happens with the fight?
Well, first of all, I think we're going to see one Patriot air defense battery going to Ukraine, which is being pummeled by Russian missiles and drones. That's going to help them there. One system isn't going to protect all of Kyiv, for instance. They cost, $10 million a piece for the launchers, $4 million for the missiles. There's some questions that we're probably going to be asking about how the Ukrainians are trained up on them. So that's first off. But on the pace of aid, I mean, I think that is the question with Republicans taking over in the House and Republicans increasingly expressing skepticism about Ukraine aid.
Well, we've already heard in the last few weeks, Kevin McCarthy, who's expected to be the House Speaker, saying he's not sure if this aid should continue. There's a real conservative wing of the House Republican Party that's saying they're going to oppose this. Senate, both Democrats and Republicans seem like they're okay with this. The White House says they're going to keep sending this. So
right.
Is this just potentially smokescreen? Is this slowing stuff down? Do we have any idea what's going to happen?
I think there's a subtle difference. I think what Kevin McCarthy has said that we don't want to give a blank check to Ukraine. So if I had to guess, maybe there's a compromise in there where they increase oversight measures for the aid. It is a lot of money, and it is flowing very quickly. But what we've seen in other times that Republicans have controlled the House with a slim majority is that they wind up teaming up with Democrats to get stuff done. And enough Democrats and enough Republicans are in favor of Ukraine aid that we'll see it flow in some form or fashion.
Megan, what's the feeling down at the Pentagon right now on this issue? Do they think that it's going to change substantially, or is this still, status quo, we'll keep going and Congress will figure its side out?
It seems mostly like they're intending to just fulfill any requests or fulfill whatever the White House says. Same thing with the troops that we have mobilized over in Europe. They're all preparing to stay where they are into the new year.
Okay. So let's switch to the biggest personnel topic in the military from last year, which I think is going to continue into next year too, which is recruiting. This has been a pretty rough recruiting year for the armed services. The Army missed its target. The other services, I believe, made their target. But what is the Pentagon doing now? And in 2023, is this going to be more of the same?
So there's a couple of phases of things. The Pentagon is starting to look into, okay, what can we do to kind of change the environment and get a better handle on how bad the environment is. But by the numbers, the Army had the hardest time with the shortfall. Everyone else just kind of struggled to get across the finish line. But most of the services this year have asked to get smaller, including the Army, by tens of thousands. And so that will change their calculation of how many people they need to retain, how many people they need to recruit, and give them a little more leeway in terms of how many people they have to actually bring in.
But I know that Republicans on Capitol Hill, every time the Democratic administration tries to pull down those numbers, they end up fighting back and saying, we want more, we need to keep this robust. So could we be looking at a situation where maybe they just get by in 2023 again, but then all of a sudden have those numbers go back up, have that end strength level be increased?
That's always a possibility, and I think there's going to be a lot of public and closed testimony from Defense Department leaders and from service leaders about how, you can give us those targets, but we can't promise that that's going to, we're in a tough spot right now. Giving us artificially inflated targets above what we've asked for may not work out in the end.
We'll come back to the defense budget in a minute, but before that, the really, really messy things that are going to happen on Capitol Hill, it's going to be some of these tensions with House Republicans and these conversations about the woke military. Mm-hmm. I know you've already been covering this, Megan. In recent days, we saw the House Armed Services Committee have to do some parliamentary maneuvers to stop House Republicans from bringing this to the floor, just to demand every document that has the word transgender, every document that has the word safe space, non-binary, all sorts of things. They've promised they're going to make all of these diversity and inclusion issues a real topic of focus in coming months, saying that it hurts readiness. That it has the potential to really become a friction point between the Pentagon and Capitol Hill.
Yeah, I mean, largely it's probably going to end up being a lot of, like you mentioned, them asking for things, maybe calling people to testify. But the Defense Department really doesn't want to engage with that conversation. Senior leaders are, the way that they feel is that this is completely overwrought, it's completely partisan, it's not based on anything that actually goes on in the Defense Department. So sure, we'll hand over all of our studies and our training modules and all of that stuff. But they're not going to go up there and try to defend something that they don't think is actually happening, but that these lawmakers keep accusing them of doing.
They can say that, but you and I both remember when Secretary Austin was up there and got into a shouting match with Representative Gates over these issues. The idea of critical race theory, is it being taught at the academies? What does that mean? What does that include? So whether or not the Pentagon likes this and wants to talk about, wants to engage, it seems like we've got lawmakers who are intent on engaging, and I don't think we've seen the last shouting match between the Secretary and lawmakers.
Certainly not, but I don't think it's going to be very satisfying what they get out of what lawmakers get out of these DoD senior leaders, because they're going to be practicing so much to just not react, not get upset.
But Joe, let me ask you with these, because you've seen this for a while, you've covered both the Pentagon and Capitol Hill. You know that plays into the relationship issues. So if they're having those shouting matches, and then the next week the Pentagon's got to come and talk about Ukraine aid or has to talk about what the budget is, what does that do to that relationship? And especially with a split Congress, fine, you can get what you want from a pretty calm Senate side, but will you be able to get any cooperation from the House side? Yeah,
it's a good question. I mean, I think that it would, it does potentially degrade the level of trust. I think if if Pentagon leadership feel like they're coming up there to answer serious questions, they're open to it. But I think they don't like going up there to kind of be used as partisan props, and so that does degrade their relationship. I think they're going to have to continue to interact with senior leaders on the committees. I mean, there's no question there.
You think they could refuse to send folks to some of these hearings? It's been a while, but we remember this has happened in the past where the Pentagon has refused to send certain representatives to certain hearings because they felt like it was just a political mess.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think that the posture hearings, where you have Southcom, EUCOM, combatant commanders defending their budgets, folks from the Missile Defense Agency defending their budgets, I think those are likely to proceed as normal. But yeah, I mean, that's a good question. Could the gears grind on some of these other kind of hot button personnel issues, particularly if the White House steps in and says, this isn't worth it for you to do this?